Hey, what's up? My name is Mr. Popo, and today we are going to be taking a look on how to recreate this because this was a recreation from Dixon Baxi Hulu project. Let's go. So this was a very practice kind of kind of a project, and that's why I just wanted to share it. Recently, because I'm having way too much work on my hand, and I started to realize that whenever I come back to a project because of a feedback, it's really organized here, but it's always chaotic when it comes here. And so I decided to go chill yesterday night and try to make a project where I can learn how. I just wanted to create this effect actually. I just really wanted to create this effect here, and that's it. And in the same time, I just wanted to get myself again to being in order because my projects has been pretty chaotic recently whenever I come back to them. So that was it, yeah. So let's get right into it. So this was done obviously fully in After Effects. Again, this was Dixon Baxi Hulu project. I'll link it in the comment in the little box down below in the information. So you can just click it and check the full project. It's pretty awesome. But let's get right into how I approach this. So the first thing is we've got this stroke thing. So it's just one stroke. It's basically just a rectangle, as you can see here. It has a stroke of 25 and it's just keep on rotating. So how I created that taper, I just went inside of stroke, taper, and I put 50 and 50. So just so that you understand, this is the taper. You know, if you do 100% and then you do the 100%, you get it really smooth. That's not what I was looking for. I was just looking for something like this. And so what I did was I went into the offset of this trim path, and I gave it the index time 20. So basically it just looks at whenever I duplicate this, it's gonna keep on moving this because I just wanted to do a whole full circle around here. That's why I did the index here. So as you can see here, whenever I duplicate, you see it just moves it a bit through time. So that's all this is doing. So again, what I did was I just want to duplicate it a bunch of time until it gave me a whole circle. And I just changed, some are big, some are small stroke, some are medium, and then it gave me this. So I just needed to get this. Didn't really need to be in color. I just needed this scheme. So once that done, what I did was I went and I created, so this is what I have. Obviously, this is what I have. I needed to color it, so I created a new solid and I gave it a 4-color gradient. And I chose these colors. And then I put this as an overlay. So basically what this overlay is going to do is whatever is going to be below it, it will color it. And that's what I wanted to do. I just wanted to color this. Okay? So when you give it a black background, this is what you get, basically. Okay, cool. And then what I started doing was started stacking a lot of effects here. So if we look at this, so normal, I give it a little bit of turbulence, so that it's not very smooth. I give it roughen edges so that I can have disnormalities all around my screen. So it's not very, you see it's continuous. I do not want that continuity. So I did this roughen edge thing. Cool. The next thing was I gave it a little glow to get me this kind of vibrating motion going on. It's like people are talking. So these are people talking and discussing the series or the movie that they are watching. And then to give everything a beautiful eerie feeling, I give it a fast box blur, not a Gaussian blur, a box blur. Again, I use a box blur whenever I need something that is ghosty or something that mean that it's behind a mirror or a screen or something. So that's when I use a fast box blur. So as you can see here. It's like it's very prominent. So just to show you the difference here. So if I try to go into Gaussian blur here, it's not gonna give me the same thing ever. You see, it's just blur. It's not behind a mirror or a curtain, but this is. And then it gives me this really beautiful thing that I was looking for. Cool. So it just scales. And the moment the logo is gonna be about to reveal, because it absorbs everything, so it goes back. So it's just a scale thing. So once that's done, I went and I created a solid. And this solid, I gave it a color. And I made a mask like this. And so all I did was, in this mask, I went and I animated the expansion. So I can control when it comes in and then it comes out. Okay? So that's what I did here. So now, if we look at everything, so a background basically is just very small. It's just like this little thing here. Hold on, let me just... It's just a black background on a blue thing. So it gives it this under ocean or very eerie feeling. So this is what we have now with colors. Okay, so if we look at everything now. Okay, so it got it right. Now I needed to do a little bit of logo. So what I did was I went and I brought this logo. Just found it on the internet, and so I just took it. I put it on a new composition. I called it logo. Okay, and it just started like this. So HULU. So it just started like this. Okay, obviously I gave it the color that I wanted because the normal color was too old. That's not the new logo. And yeah, so what I did was I made them 3D and I just animated the position so for them to come in. Okay, so they're just coming in, literally. I'm just animating this from 500 to 0. That's it. So if we look at it, that's it. Okay, so we have an opacity and it's coming in nicely. Cool. Now, if we come back and we look at this, and of course I gave this a deep glow so that it gives me this beautiful glow. Let's look at it now. Okay, so you know what are we gonna do? We're just gonna do a half, yeah, cool. Cool? Yeah. So what I'm doing is, in the same time, I have this locked to a sizer, and this sizer, what it does, it just scales it when you, according to the sound. So at this point, it jumps from 107 to 127. Perfect. And yeah, I just keep on scaling. Now, what I did next was I went and I started creating the box for it. So basically the box is just like this without the alpha inverted. It's just a box and then it just scales up, literally. That's all that's going on. And then all I had to do was just duplicate it and make it smaller. So now when we look at this, you see, so basically this one is just a duplicate of this one. Like there is no much work to that. It's just what it is. Cool. And of course these letters, when they end, there's this little detail at the end that they don't just disappear altogether. I don't like to have everything go together. I like to have this sequential thing. So what I did was I played a little bit with the opacity of how they die. So as you can see here, this one first, second, third, and fourth. You see that? It's very beautiful. It fades out nicely rather than having all together. All together looks a little bit stale. for the taste that I was going for, and for what Dixon Baxi did as well. So that's something I think we agree on. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Now, if we look at everything, perfect. Now, when I did this, the next thing that I did exactly was to get this one here, the optical glare. This is really, really, really important, because the moment this appears, it's like I give a signal to your brain that something is about to shine really hard. You see that? Something is about to change. So then you see that optical flare. So it's like, for a fraction of a second, you already know that something is about to pop, because this gives you that information that something is about to come in. So how this optical flare was done, it's basically just a normal optical flare here. Just this one, I just clear all and I just chose this, not even this, just this basic glow. And then what I did was I went and I played a little bit with the blue, the green, the red. It's very tiny, because I just don't want it to be super blue and I don't want it to be super white. I want it to be a mix of blue and green, and it's very tiny, as you can see. And then I just blurred everything. Cool. So now what do we have? And then it just goes down. See that? So that it's a perfect loop. Nice. So that was done. I just went and I added a little bit of grain with this texture. So as you can see here, let me show you here. So check the grainy thing here. So as you can see, like this is too straight. It's too perfect. A little bit of grain, it gives it a little bit of this beautiful thing. It's like really on TV. It really gives a nice touch to everything. And of course a little bit of CC. I did a lot of tests here, as you can see, with colors and LUTs, but then I ended up just doing what I really like to do by just controlling the color myself. And I used just use the curve for this. So let me just show you. So even when it comes to the low, you can see that it really does quite a lot for this one. Now that that was done, the next thing that I did was I needed to play a little bit on this thing right here. And that was the challenge of this whole project, was how do you get that very eerie reveal. And those were done using an optical flare with attractment. So basically what attractment is, if you don't understand, for those who don't know, basically let's just say that you have a text. I'm gonna say track. Okay. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go and create a shape. Okay, so if I do attractment, what that means is I'm gonna show myself whenever there is something below me. So if I put attractment here, it's gonna show itself when this is below it. Now if I duplicate this and then I move this like this, so this shape will still be visible because there are two things below it. But then if I take this two and put them on front, I'm not going to be able to see this because there is nothing below it. There is no surface. Okay? There's no solid behind it. And in the same way, if I take this, so as you can see here, you can still see the shape. So that's basically what I did here. So what I wanted is, I wanted this two flares, these two here, as you can see here. So we've got one at the bottom, and one on top. And these are, again, they are a glow, but they have this little hoop here. This is the most important part of the whole thing, because without it, this is going to be so boring. It's going to be so white, and then that's it. Okay, so what I did, let me just take off everything. So this is what it is. And I went and I controlled this right here, the center position. Normally, you see that? That hoop, if I put it here, that hoop is here now. But then if I put it here, the hoop is gonna be here. So now it gives me this really beautiful change of color here. So I just fast blur it, give it a little bit of chromatic aberration. Voila. And the same thing goes for the one below. Perfect, now that is done. What I did was I inverted, like I took this, duplicated it, I removed the stroke, but just kept the fill. So then you have this. So as you can see, it's the same exact shape layer. But then, of course, it has a mask. And it just, you see, the mask just expands so that it leaves. But what's beautiful about this is, remember, the track matte is going to show itself whenever there is something below it. So when I put these two, they actually take form of this, and that gives me this really beautiful change of color. You see that? So that was the whole trick. That's how I solved it. I don't know how they solved it themselves, but this is how I solved it. And I think that works. So whatever they used, that's good for them. That's the beauty of workflows, is yeah, sometimes you solve things in a way that other people solve it in some different way. It doesn't mean that you're right, it doesn't mean that they are. It's just a workflow again. And if their workflow, the way they solved it one day, appears to be way better than what I did here, or if it's not the same, then yeah, I would be really interested into changing my workflow. But I don't think they will. Yeah, so that's what we have now. Cool. And then it extends. Now the last little bit here was this shadow and outline. So I'm just gonna show you for one, and then you're gonna understand everything else. So when it comes to, let's see the shadow. The shadow is basically just the same H, but then it has a light burst. So a light burst gives you this light thing. You see that? So I just gave it a little bit of a gradient, as you can see. So I give it a gradient to make it a little bit of this color. So as you can see here, this is the gradient. And then I give it a light burst, and it just fades in. So fades in, fade out. So if we see it alone, it's going to be a fade in and a fade out. Perfect. And then at the end right here, I wanted to have something very special. I don't want them to just fade. I want them to fade in a really beautiful way. So what happened is, this main H, it fades, and then the outline fades. Let's look for a more prominent one, which is this one. So the U fades, and then the U outline shows, and then fades. And how the outline was done, I did not trace anything. I just used a very simple trick. It's called the find edges. So this is the normal picture. I did the find edges. I inverted it, so it found the edge. I gave the edge a little bit of a tint. I give it a little bit of level so that I can see it. And I give it a very beautiful deep glow. That's it. And it just fades off. So yeah, you just combine literally everything, and then you get. But not quite. There's one thing that I needed to add. So at this here, I thought that this was too straightforward. This green was too straightforward. So what I did was I gave this legacy thing. You guys know how much I really love this. So what I did was I gave this texture inside of here. So as you can see, it's there. Let me show you. So you can see here. You can see how much it made this whole green not super. Look, it's the same value everywhere, but once I do that, the value changes. You see, the color green here and green here are not the same. And then I have this really beautiful thing there. Yeah. And of course I did a little bit of a chromatic aberration below so that I can have a little bit of chromatic aberration there. As you can see, a little bit of chromatic aberration just to distort things. And yeah, I just copied this same thing here, this three. I just copied them and just put them here. Let me show you. Here. It's just literally the same thing, I just copied them. Cool. Again, this is the full thing. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I'm really busy. I know I promised for that C4D tutorials, but that's gonna take me forever. I'm gonna do it once I finish this wave of so many tasks. Probably when I get a holiday or something, I'll jump on it. But no promises for anytime soon. So I'll probably just keep doing this short tutorials from now on then. Yeah, I hope you found this useful. My name is Mr. Popo and we are Popo. I'll see you guys on the next one.